and he broke me spoon.
Morning everybody, just in here at the moment with Dad, going out to check sheep. Today got a little bit of service work on. Yeah, going to service the John Deere 6310 and do a few other jobs, but we're out here checking the sheep first because they're currently lambing. Yeah, so we're just coming out to have a look at them. It's going pretty ordinary at the moment, I think. There's been quite a few lambs have died because of weather and foxes and whatnot. But we'll go have a look at them and I'll let Dad have a bit of a talk about them. And then once we've done that, yeah, we'll crack on into the rest of the day. Yeah, get this tractor serviced. I also want to service the Massey Ferguson 3505, but I'm sort of just organising some parts for that still. But all the stuff's here for the John Deere. So I can make a proper start on that and get right into it. Alright, so we're just going out, we're just sort of finished going around the Dohne ewes and their lambs. Just had a quick look. So I'll give you over to Dad and he can give you a bit of an update and his thoughts about what's going on with lambing and yeah, what's sort of happening with that.
Yeah, g'day viewers. Just been around the ewes and lambs, as Cam said. They're going all right. We're having a little bit of trouble. We're getting a few dead ones, or born dead. I'm not real sure why. I think it might be just a seasonal thing. By the sound of it, there's a few other people in the same sort of boat. They probably lacked a good feed while they were in lamb, because we couldn't put them, well, that was my idea, to put this triticale in because you can graze it as well, but because it was that wet after it was put in, you couldn't put the sheep on it to nip it off. And if they'd had something like that to give them a bit extra nutrients, it may have helped them. And of course the grass has been short and there's no real growth at the moment. It's starting to kick off a little bit now, but we've lost a few, which is disappointing, but we're also getting quite a few twins as well, which sort of compensates it a little bit. But they're going all right. Mother picked up one there yesterday and brought it back to the stables, and she's mothering it up on the bottle, so that'll be another pet for a collection. So yeah, they're going all right, but could be better. As long as the weather stays fine and doesn't get real cold or wet on them now, they'll go all right. So that's about all I can say for these fellas.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was Mum or Dad was saying the other day, had a few been got by the fox as well.
Oh yeah, we've had a bit of a fox problem. Well, not a problem, but fox is sort of a natural to this area, and they've pitched a few either after they've been born and the little blokes are a bit weak and they've got them, or they've been born dead and they've got into them a bit too. So we've lost maybe half a dozen of foxes is what I can see, but again too, it's been that wet up until now. You couldn't really get around and do any spotlighting of any sort of degree, but
now it's a bit dry. We might go out and have to have a shoot and see if we're going to get any, but yeah, it's always hard out here just because of the way the farm is, with the little rock areas. They sort of get in the long grass and you can't get them because they hide pretty well, as anybody knows. But yeah, might have to try out, go out for a shoot one night and try and get a couple and scare them off at least. So we'll go have a look at the White Suffolks now and see how they're going, and then yeah, we'll head back up to the shed. Right, we're just out here with the White Suffolk lambs, which the Dohne ewes, but the White Suffolk's been over them. You probably know that, we've talked about it quite a bit. so we'll just checking them as well. Obviously it's a lot smaller mob than the main Dohne mob, so yeah, I'll give you over to that and you can talk about that.
Yeah, viewers, out here with the white Suffolks, as Cam said. These little roosters are doing all right because there's a smaller mob in a big paddock and they've been able to get a bit more feed into them. They've still got their bin of grain up there, which they seem to be getting into. So unfortunately, there won't be enough of these little blokes by the time we're finished, but they're looking well. So because of the fat lamb ram, they do a bit better, I think, in the early stages. They sort of get up and get going a fair bit quicker, and the mothers have got plenty of milk and the mothers have got plenty of feed. So this little mob's doing okay. I don't think there's too many more left to lamb anyway by the look of it. There's too many there for me to count at the minute, but yeah, they're going all right. So that's about him for this lot.
Yeah, so that's pretty much all the sheep checking done for now. So we're going to head back up to the shed and yeah, we'll make a start on all the other work that's got to be done today and see how we go. Alright everybody, just up at the workshop now. Got the John Deere just on the other side of the wall there. We've taken the front end loader off. It's a hell of a lot easier servicing it without the front end loader on. So today it's pretty bloody windy, as you can probably hear, and looks like we've got some bad weather coming in, so I'll try and get this service done pretty quick as I can. Just a basic one, it's just an oil and fuel change. So like oil filter and fuel filter and engine oil change, because when we bought it last year we did that massive service on it where we changed all the oils, all the filters, and so everything's pretty much up to date. Yeah, so I'll sort of run through what I'm doing as I'm going through it, and we'll see how we go. So try and get it done before this rain comes. It's meant to rain. Whether or not it does, I don't know, but she's looking pretty grey. Yeah, so here's the 6310. She's a bit dirty at the moment, needs a bit of a wash. Might give both the tractors a wash before we do hay, because I want to make a little video comparing the two. Not that there's much of a comparison, but just be an interesting video. So I'll rip these side covers off to get to the oil and fuel filters, and we'll pop the bonnet. And then once we've done that, we'll start draining some oil, change some filters. We'll obviously give it a graze, blow out the air filter, I'll blow out the cabin filters. Today I will vacuum the cab and try and get as much dust and stuff out of there, and I'll give those cabin filters a vacuum as well. And yeah, we'll just go from there. Definitely needs a good grease. So we'll rip into it. Right, so got all the covers off as you would have just seen, and first thing we're going to do is drain the engine oil. Uh-oh. So I've made a mess already, straight away, which isn't ideal. That's probably enough oil drained, I think. Should be right. Let the old sump plug back in. There we go.
Right, so we've dropped the engine oil, made a little bit of a mess. You get that though on these big jobs. So now we'll change out the oil filter, which is a nice easy one actually. It's not in a real prick of a spot. Some people love to put oil filters in just a prick of a spot, but this one's actually quite good. So here's our oil filter there. Bit of an oil leak happening. I think it's coming from that pipe you can just see, which we already knew about when we bought the tractor. But it's a bit of a job to replace it. I think you've got to pull the oil cooler off as well as the filter housing to replace a couple of O-rings. It's just like, you know, one of your slight weeping oil leaks. It's not like it's dripping, so it's not a big drama, but it's one of those things that we will have to yeah, like sort out down the track. But that can wait for another day when we've got a little bit more money, a little bit more time to, you know, do a bit more repairs to this one. So we'll spin this oil filter off and chuck the new one on. Probably going to make a bit of a mess here with the old oil filter, but it's not a lot we can do. Just try not to spill it all everywhere. Alright, there we go. It's not too bad. We'll give up the top of the housing a quick wipe just because there's a lot of dirt and stuff accumulated around it. Get a little bit of oil off it to lube up the new seal on the new filter. Just help it tighten up nicely. So I'll put a bit of oil around there. Spin this new one on. There we go. We'll just tighten this one up by hand because it's only a small oil filter. It doesn't need to be super tight. If it was a bigger one on a truck, I'd probably do it up with the tool, but that should be all right. Unfortunately, we can't get the John Deere thing back to the start, but you get these things. Right, so new oil filter's in. That's all ready to rock and roll. So next we'll chuck some oil in the engine and we'll start it up, run the oil through the filter. Some people will fill that up with oil. If it was a larger oil filter, I would too. But being so small, it'll take only a second or so to fill that right up. Some people say, oh yeah, you can damage the engine. It won't run for long enough without oil. So that'll be fine as it sits. So we'll get the oil and we'll fill it up. Looks like we drained, I don't know, 15 litres out of it. So hopefully we should have enough oil to fill it back up. Rightio, so the oil we're using for the engine is just Castrol RX Diesel 15W40. We did use the John Deere stuff last year, but I think it works out to be more expensive. And we generally use Castrol in the 3505, which is just the Agri Plus multi-purpose oil, which does both the engine and the transmission and hydraulics. And we've never had a drama with it, so what I'm slowly doing is transferring or swapping us all the oils over that we use to Castrol. It's easy for us to buy at our local where we get our oil from. We have an account, so it's easier for us to just buy Castrol and it's closer to home. So that's what we use. We've never had a drama, so hopefully this RX Diesel stuff's all right. Should be all right. It's what they recommend goes in this model. So yeah, we'll fill that up and check it out, start it up, and yeah, we'll check the level again. So we'll fill up the oil and hopefully we've got enough. just put a heap of oil in there. Got about a third of a drum left. Dipstick is saying it's just over full, so we'll start it up, let that filter fill up, and then we'll recheck the oil. Right, so we've run the tractor. That should have filled the filter up and flown through all the engine. So now we can recheck the dipstick and the oil level and make sure she's where she needs to be and add a little more if need be. So it's pretty close to spot on. We'll add a dribble more just to compensate for that little leak, and that should be right to go again. Okay, so next thing we're going to do now is replace this fuel filter. That one is not such a spin-on one. So what you're doing is you undo this nut up here and that all comes off, and there's a bowl as well down the bottom. That's a fleet guard one. We've got the genuine John Deere thing here. So this is the John Deere one. It's different. There's no bowl at the bottom, and I'm hoping that that will still work with that nut that's on there. We bought this last year and we just never got around to swapping that old fleet guard one off. So hopefully that's not been like added as a secondary filter, like some sort of like aftermarket filter, and that the John Deere, the genuine John Deere filter will fit on there, and we won't have any dramas. It shouldn't make a difference with the bowl. It's just got a sediment bowl on it so water will catch. On this one it's just got the little drain, so it's like drain water regularly, which is sort of annoying, but this will be getting changed every year, or every service. Regardless to whether or not John Deere recommends you should. I always change fuel filters every service because you just should. It's clean fuel means cleaner engine, and yeah, fuel carries a lot of dirt and stuff in it, especially in Australia. Our diesel's pretty average, so hopefully this will do the trick. So we'll try to get the old one off and we'll see what we can do with it. We'll probably keep that bowl just in case we ever do get a filter on there that needs that bowl. So yeah, see what happens. May need to get some multi grips or something on there to undo this nut. It's going to be pretty tight, I think. Ooh, yeah. We'll give it a little tap with a screwdriver, not too hard, just to see if we can loosen it. I don't have a set of multi grips big enough to fit around. That's working anyway. Beautiful. I might have to take this bottom section off first. I don't think it's going to fit out. So this will make a bit of a mess as well. Here's what it is. I'll have to give the engine a little bit of a clean off after. And there's the fuel filter off. We'll give all the housing a bit of a wipe. It's just got a bit of rust on there. Obviously a little bit of water is able to collect on the sides of that. Yeah, there's a groove you've got to lodge fine to where it fits into. And the John Deere should read perfectly at you. So the groove is on the filter on 90 degrees of the filter housing on this side. Then you just stick your nut back on. Alright, I think that filter's on properly. We'll have to start it up and let it fill up with fuel. I don't see any way of bleeding it. There's no hand primer or anything, which is a real pain in the ass. So maybe it might have an electronic pump that pumps it up to it, but we'll find out in a sec. So I'll start it up and see whether or not the fuel fills up that filter, and we'll go from there. Alright, got the tractor started, just had to crank it over until that fuel filter filled up. It's sort of annoying, but oh well. It's just running there at the moment, making sure there's no air in the fuel system. Looks alright, no leaks, so I reckon that should be pretty right. We'll turn her off and do some other stuff now. Alright, what I've done is what we're up to next is I've pulled the air filter off, shoved a heap of rags in the inner filter because you've got to unscrew that, and I don't really want to, and you shouldn't have to blow them out. Well, you're not meant to blow inner filters out anyway. So we'll clean all the condenser fan, the condenser grate off, and the radiator as well, give that all a good blowout. Got the air filter just there, we'll give that a good blowout as well. I don't think that's been done in a while. And then we'll slap it all together and we'll just give it all, the tractor, a bit of a blow over on the top of the engine and just around everything, blow any grass and stuff out. It hasn't really had a good clean like blow off with air since we probably did hay last year, and we're getting pretty close to hay now, so get rid of all the old crap off there and we'll cover it up again, but I might give it a wash before then anyway. So I'll get the air compressor's just been pumping up then, and now we should be right to get everything to blow down, and after that I'll probably top the coolant up and then we'll give it a grease. Right, just finished blowing all the dust off that, blew a lot of the cobwebs off the cab as well. So I just checked the rear end oil, it's all good, and topped up the coolant. So now I'm going to grab the grease gun and grease all the points on it. And then once I've done that, that'll be most of the outside stuff done. I'll put all the covers back on obviously, and then I'll get in the cab, clean that out, and clean the cabin air filters, and then yeah, the service will be just about done. Alrighty, just finished greasing the tractor. We've put all the guards back on, dropped the bonnet. That's all ready to rock and roll. So now I'm going to clean out the cab. So all I'm going to do is give it a vac and clean the cabin filters, and that should be pretty much done. So I'll grab those cabin filters out and we'll have a look what they're like. Alright, I just got the cabin filters out. So these ones are where the air gets circulated when you got the fan on. You can see they're pretty grubby. They're not chockers, but they are quite dirty. Realistically, you should probably replace them every service, I reckon, because they get filled up so easy, but it's not really economical to do so. So I'll give them a clean out. Alright, so I gave the cabin filters a blowout and they're ready to go back in. So I'll grab the vacuum and I'll vacuum the whole cab out. Alright, just finished cleaning out the tractor. As you can see, she is pretty clean. Gave the dash a wipe down with a rag and got most of the dust out, sucked all the cobwebs and crap out of here. I don't know why, but this tractor seems to get covered in spiders. But no other tractor does, so don't know what the go is there, but anyway. So that is pretty much the service done on this. Yeah, it was a pretty easy one, just an oil change and a fuel change. Fuel filter and oil filter change, sorry. Quick blow off and topped up a few fluids and whatever, gave it a grease, so she's all right to go for another 250 hours, I think is the service interval on these. I'll have to look in the manual and I'll update my little whiteboard with what it's up to and just note down what I've done in the book, and then yeah, it should be all finished and ready to rock and roll, ready for hay cutting. Alright, so the John Deere 6310 service is finished. Wrote in the book for it, wrote down a couple of little notes for the next service, and I've updated the whiteboard. So there it is, 6310. Next service, 6,750 hours, oil and fuel, and drain the fuel tank, any water that's in the bottom of the fuel tank. So that's pretty much what you got to do on the 5. So we've done a 250 hour service. The next one will be a 500 hour service. And it says, yeah, crack the bung on the bottom of the fuel tank and drain any water that's in there. Hopefully it's done. But yeah, so we're done and dusted with that one. The Massey Ferguson's still got to be serviced. I'm waiting for parts, as I already said. It'll just be an oil and fuel service as well, plus change the filter on the hydraulics. I'm not changing the oil because it leaks so much, we put a lot into it, and just the grease and all that sort of general crap. So that's one job done, and it's probably, I don't even know what the time is, but it's mid-afternoon, I think.